delighted to be joined online by Karyn Parsons to talk about the 30-year reunion of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I suppose Karyn, who played Hilary Banks in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, 30 years on, it must almost feel like yesterday then you were around the soap opera that was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, yourself, Carlton, Will, Ashley, and all the sort of pranks that she got up to. It must feel weird now saying 30 years.
It's weird to say the least.
And I suppose, Karyn, to be back all together again, I know you've stayed in touch throughout the years, and to come together for this 30-year special, I know, God forbid, Lord mercy soul, James Avery couldn't be part of it, but I suppose to get together with all the cast members and to hear their sort of stories and to hear what's happening in their lives, it must bring back fond sort of memories from the bond that you all created together.
Absolutely. I mean, we definitely miss James. And over the years, we've been able to see each other here and there, at weddings and, of course, James's funeral. And but it's beautiful what we were able to forge together. We were very much like a family, and it's a very familial relationship. So when we got together again, we just fell right back in, kind of. It felt so comfortable and so good to see each other again, and it's like we fall right back in, just like family. When you haven't seen family for a while and you get together again, the bond is very much there, and we're lucky to have something like that. It was really beautiful to see everyone and hear what's going on in everyone's lives. It was really nice. I wish James could have been there, though.
Yeah, and I suppose, Karyn, your character, Hilary Banks, I say you got great, probably one of those characters in your career that you probably had great entertainment and got great sort of joy playing, because she was a bit quirky, to say the least. She was a bit out there, but she was sort of full of life and robust, but she was one of those sort of characters that the writing was just excellent for Hilary Banks, but also it meant that you could explore so much avenues with her. I suppose she was one of those characters that, as like Christina Applegate was with Kelly Bundy, that she was sort of quirky in her own right, but that sort of drew her audience, and that made her stand out.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the writers were great. They were fantastic, and I think it was, over time, it was a really nice collaborative relationship. They saw I think they saw what areas I could deliver best, and they wrote to them as well. So together we kind of, were able to create a character that was, I guess, unforgettable. Definitely interesting and very fun to play. I loved playing that character. It was great.
Yeah, and I suppose, Karyn, I spoke to Daphne Maxwell Reid earlier on there this evening, and she told me in terms of the opening scenes, when you see the house of Bel-Air, that sort of house, that actually in the original sitcom in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you actually never stepped foot inside in that house, but during the reunion you actually got to see that house for the first time. How much of a daunting experience was that? Because I just presumed that house was part of the cast, the location from the off.
Yeah, it's a little bit of movie magic, or in that case, TV magic, because there's just the exterior there all the time, and then a set, and that's always what we dealt with. And the set is very much the home I think of when I think of the whole family, the Banks family. I don't even really think that much about the exterior, except when I've watched the show, and so visiting the real place was surreal, especially all this time passed without ever seeing the place or stepping foot in the real place. It's very strange, and it brings it home in a whole different way, because, like I said, we had what was clearly a set, and you create your own reality instead of entering into one that's already established. So it was odd. It was odd.
And I suppose, Karyn, in terms of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it sort of bucked the trends when it came out in the 90s itself, and the Cosby Show to some extent. They were seen as the sort of a new sort of culture leap in terms of American comedy, gone away from the all sort of what I would say, the Texan sort of Dallas type sort of family that you got. This was more inverse in sort of comedy and humour, but it had so many sort of moral themes and social themes running through the shows in certain episodes that you could firmly see, right? There's a bit of comedy and there's one-liners thrown in here, but they're talking about some serious issues as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that comedy can do really well, is it can address very serious situations, because when you laugh and you're wide open and you're invested in characters and you're having a good time and you're wide open, when you receive something kind of surprising and true and maybe not as light, but that hits a darker note or a heavier note, you're so open from just laughing and being light. You're not bracing yourself, that it really can hit and land. And I think that's something comedy has going for it. It's almost a little bit of surprise, but it also, because you are having such a good time and you're invested and engaged with these characters, there's more resonance when something like that hits you, with something really true and maybe unexpected, but truth.
Yeah,
I
and
think comedy can.
Yeah, and I suppose, Karyn, in terms of the 30th year anniversary, I suppose it would be pushing a mark to say you can't actually recreate a 17-year-old Carlton or a 19-year-old Hilary or a 13-year-old Ashley. So in terms of this reunion, is it more talking about your favourite moments and sort of plots, or talking about scenes and stuff like that, or do you actually do an actual episode?
No, it's unscripted. It's an unscripted special. It's a reunion. It's us gathering together. I have to say, it's unscripted, but there are a lot of surprises. I was shocked that after 30 years they were able to surprise us.
Yeah.
And they were. So I know it's going to be a real surprise. Some things are going to be a surprise to fans. And there was, a lot of laughs, very emotional roller coaster. They covered so much ground. I don't know how they're going to do it in a 1-hour special, but it was a beautiful event, but unscripted. It was not us, going back in time and me trying to be a 20-year-old again.
And I suppose, Hilary, Karyn, I suppose, in terms of your own character, Hilary, and seeing people of your own, of your younger generation, maybe your own children or stuff like that, watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, does it all sort of still resonate even today when you see yours? I suppose you've seen so many episodes, it's always on the TV, it's always on some channel anyway. Do you ever sort of sit down with yourself and watch that episode and say, like, but here's a funny story, you don't know what happened behind here? Or do sometimes you pass through those episodes, or do you flick over them, or do you still get sort of amusement when you probably sit down and see an episode? Can you sort of get lost in it all even to this day?
No, I don't watch it. I don't watch the show. I keep saying that I should sometime, because people approach me and ask me about episodes, and I don't know what they're talking about because I don't remember. But I know I don't watch it. My kids have seen it. I think my daughter has seen all of it. My son has seen a little bit, but we don't watch it. We don't. It's not something we just have on around the house. So it's been a while since I've seen a full episode all the way through. It's been years.
Yeah, and I suppose one thing that struck me in terms of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was the sort of way they were able to bring in the sort of humour as well, in terms of the jazz character, the sort of the foil to Hilary, where you have this Hilary, the sort of the upper echelons, and the jazz probably the bottom of the ladder. That was a sort of a good twist, and I suppose your interactions with DJ Jazzy Jeff, I suppose they were enjoyable as well.
Oh, absolutely. Jeff was great. You know, he's really funny in that, you know, he's not an actor, and he was really a reluctant participant in the show because he's a DJ. He had no interest. He had no interest at all in acting in the show. He had to twist his arm to get him to do it. So it was very funny. He didn't live in Hollywood or Los Angeles even, or California even. He lived in Philadelphia, and he would fly in and do his stuff and split as soon as he could. He had no interest in hanging around. So it was always very kind of fun and novel to hang out with him, because it didn't happen. You know, we weren't hanging out on the set like I was with everybody else. So I got, you know, just rare time that he had an episode, I got to, on those few and far between, I got to see him then. And he's a great guy. He's a really great guy.
And I suppose, Karyn, lots of that cast went on to good things and stuff, but Will Smith obviously went on to superstardom. I suppose he's probably the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and probably in terms of blockbuster movies and in terms of iconic status, when you think of Dwayne "Rock" Johnson, you think Will Ferrell. Will Smith falls into that category. He's on the top. Is it sort of still funny to when people say Will Smith, and you say, yeah, I know that guy really well. I worked to spend 4 or 5 years of my life with him, and to see what he went on to achieve, was that always never in doubt? Because you probably know Will more than anyone in terms of your relationship through the 4 or 5 years as being friends and work buddies. Did you always knew that he was destined to basically take over?
Well, it's strange, because not because of that Will wasn't suited for it. I think we always knew from the very beginning, from the very first week I worked, you recognized him. I mean, even before that, because I knew him from the Parents Just Don't Understand video, and he was incredibly charming, really, you know, sharp, funny, incredible timing, and then you met him and he's got all this charisma. So it was no surprise in that regard. And then as we were on the show together, you witness his growth, and he's an incredibly curious individual, so sharp. If he wants to learn something, he's going to learn it almost overnight, because that's the kind of laser focus he has. He's intensely professional, but at the same time, he's full of joy, and he just kind of, that's how he operates, in this kind of joy. He has like kind of joyful bounce and enthusiasm for everything he does, which is infectious, and audiences love it. So it wasn't surprising in that regard that he went on to superstardom. It was only surprising in that we knew him as Will, as family, as somebody who's here on Earth with us, right, sitting next to us on the couch, that you're laughing and having these deep conversations with. And so it's almost like he got beamed up to some strange stratosphere. And that was the surprising part, was like, what happened? Where'd Will go? Like, what? You know, it was just kind of amazing in that way, because he was just our Will. And yeah, we know him differently. We know him from, we worked on the show for 6 years of our lives, and it was a very bonding situation that happened to all of us together. So forever we will be bonded through that too.
Yeah, and I suppose, Karyn, in terms of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, one thing that always struck me about it was the sort of the bloopers that she sort of put into it at the end, and that would just show the sort of enjoyment that she got in terms of shooting every sort of episode. And I suppose when you look at that sort of, it was unique at the time, because no other show was doing that. No other show would say, right, here's where someone slipped up or someone sort of missed the line. And it sort of brought that sort of a sort of down-to-earth sort of realism to the show. Like, hey, this is just a bit of laugh, this is a bit of mellow sort of stuff, nothing over too serious. Look, we're having a good time doing this, like, as well. It wasn't that sort of showpiece sort of humour where everyone's serious. They go into the studio, they pretend to be funny, having a great time, and once it's shot in, the serious face comes on again and they're out the door and go home.
Yeah, I think it was a really good idea that they brought that to audiences at home, because, you know, we shot in front of a live audience every Friday night, and we had a really great relationship with that audience, the studio audience, because they would see us make these mistakes, and the energy was so high and so charged and fun. And I think they said, you know, why not bring that to everyone at home as well? And that's what showing the bloopers kind of did. It brought that same energy and fun that the studio audience had of watching us go through and do a show, but then they also saw the mistakes, and that brought them closer in a strange way to the experience, to the whole. It added a dimension to it anyway. And I think that kind of enhanced the relationship that the audience had with the show. Ultimately.
Yeah, I suppose, Karyn, another thing about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and no doubt we're going to hear it on this reunion, but the theme song, I suppose it has reached iconic sort of status. It's played in nearly every nightclub throughout the world, every sort of dance club. You hear the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song and everyone singing the chorus and the sort of verses from it as well. So that probably took on a life of its own as well, really and truly. It's probably the most iconic TV theme song in America. Everybody knows the words. It's like the national anthem.
Yeah, they know the words, and it's, you know, it's the whole it's got a beat and you can dance to it thing. I think that's the thing. It's not just like you know the Gilligan's Island theme song and the Brady Bunch and things like this, but this one you can, you know, it also you can dance to it, and it's fun. You know, Will and Jazzy Jeff are you know, they're good at what they do, and they put something together that was it was a hit as well as a theme for a show, strangely enough, you know, and it came a lot from you know, Parents Just Don't Understand, which was a big, huge hit. So it was strange how that kind of took off, because we just thought of it as the theme song, but it makes sense that catchy song was more than that. And it's funny, after all this time, how it holds up. It's not corny or anything. I love that.
Yeah, and I suppose, Karyn, your siblings in the show, Ashley Banks, played by Titania Ali, and Carlton, played by Alfonso Ribeiro, as such. And I suppose in terms of the character Carlton as such, I suppose it struck me as, you know, you have the Big Bang Theory, you have Sheldon Cooper, and you have sort of characters like this that are always stuck to. Was it hard sometimes for Alfonso to get away from that sort of Carlton character? Because it's so iconic, because every time you see probably Alfonso on your TV screens or on a reality show, you almost think, that's Carlton, you know, you associate the name Carlton first before you associate the name Alfonso. While Titania was awful sort of young when she was playing Ashley Banks, so when she grew up, I suppose it didn't really have that sort of same sort of draw to her. But I suppose for Alfonso, he's always a Carlton character. Carlton it's the first word when people see him.
Well, for him, yeah, definitely that's what he gets. And I'll say a quick shout out to Alfonso. It's his birthday today.
Okay.
He's, you know, he definitely he played the part so well that he is associated that way. Now, for us, we always knew, we differentiate all of the characters in our part, you know, because we spent so much time with each other, not acting. We did a lot of rehearsing together, but we spent a lot of time not acting. So I know Alfonso very well. I know Tatiana very well. Very separate. There's quite separate people from, at James Avery, very different from Philip Banks. So those are the people that I think of when I think of the cast, even before I think of the characters.
Yeah, I suppose, Karyn, two last questions before I let you go. There's probably second last one now coming to you. How hard do you think will it to be ever in the future? Do you think anyone has made a stab at trying to emulate or recreate a sort of version of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I suppose a different name, and it strikes me as one of those things that you just don't go near, or you just don't sort of touch, or you can't really create a spin-off of it either, in terms of it, because you'll always be compared to the sequel. It's one of those things where TV writers or producers, they look at and say, oh, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that's so iconic, we're not going to touch that or try anything different to that. I know they're making a reboot of Saved by the Bell now, which was an iconic show, and they're trying to make a reboot of that, but certain things like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I imagine you just can't make a reboot of it, or a sort of spin-off, because you just can't find the characters, I suppose, to recreate what she had.
Well, I don't know, did you hear about the dramatic reboot?
No, I didn't know.
Yes, listen, so Will Smith is producing a dramatic reboot of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Wow, that's an exclusive.
Last year.
Okay.
Yes, as last year, a young man named Morgan Cooper, he produced a trailer, kind of a fan trailer of what Fresh Prince might look like if it had been a dramatic show, and he released it. It went viral. Will saw it and was just kind of blown away by it, and has now joined up with Morgan Cooper and another gentleman, his writer partner, and they have they are creating and developing a Fresh Prince as it would take place now, today.
Wow.
In a dramatic fashion, and it's been picked up already while it's just in development. It's been picked up for 2 seasons.
Wow.
By Peacock Streaming. You can look into it. It's brand new news, but it's very interesting, and for anyone who's interested, you look up the Fresh Prince dramatic trailer, I guess. I look up Morgan Cooper, and you can find it and see what the trailer looks like, the idea they have in mind. It's quite different.
And I suppose, Karyn, I suppose this is a question I'll sort of put you, and it's probably the toughest question I'll ask you. Maybe sort of, if people wanted to remember Karyn Parsons for the role she played as Hilary Banks, and it was put into a dictionary, and they left 2 blank sentences underneath, what would you like them to read? Say, for example, Karyn Parsons would be like to be remembered for a role as Hilary Banks, and what would you like those 2 sentences to read if it was in a dictionary?
Oh goodness, Hilary Banks. Oh goodness, I don't know. And Hilary would like you to remember that she was too good for you.
And I suppose, Karyn, for the last 30 seconds now, you might enlighten all our Irish audience why they should tune in. I think it's out in Thanksgiving in the US, and probably it'll follow on then here in Ireland. Why should they tune in a mass to watch the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air 30-year reunion, and what's in store for them? And I'll turn it over to the one and only Hilary Banks herself for the last 30 seconds.
Well, I have to say, like I said, I didn't know what to expect when we went in for the reunion. They kept everything very hush-hush, and they managed, after 30 years, to surprise us and give us a roller coaster, a ride, trip down memory lane. It was crazy. I thought I could bargain on what to expect, and I was surprised left and right. It was incredible. I don't think it's an event to be missed. I'm looking forward to it so much. I can't imagine what it's going to be, but I think it's going to be tremendous. I really do. And for any fan, I don't think they could miss it.
On that note, Karyn Parsons, who played the one and only Hilary Banks on The Fresh Prince of Blair, pleasure talking to you this evening. We, in these troublesome times, we wish you and your loved ones good health, and no doubt it'll be a great success. And for now and for the moment, Karyn, pleasure as always. Take care.
Thank you. You too, and I wish the best to you and your audience. Thanks.